May 31st, 2014. A quiet morning in Waukesha, Wisconsin. A 12-year-old girl stumbles out of the woods, her white shirt stained with blood. She collapses onto a bike path, whispering just one word: "Help!" What began as a game between three young girls quickly turned into a real-life horror story, one inspired not by reality, but by the dark corners of the internet. This is the story of how a fictional character, Slenderman, led to a brutal stabbing, a nationwide moral panic, and two girls whose minds blurred fantasy and reality in the most chilling way possible. This is True Crime Hub, and today, we explore the shocking case of the Slenderman stabbing, when fiction turns deadly. Before the bloodshed, there was a story. In 2009, a user named Victor Surge uploaded eerie, manipulated photos to an online forum called Something Awful. The images showed children playing, while a tall, faceless, shadowy figure lurked in the background. That figure became known as Slenderman, a modern-day boogeyman with elongated limbs, no face, and the terrifying ability to stalk, manipulate, and abduct. Slenderman was born as a creepypasta, a kind of horror story shared online. But he became more than just an internet myth. His legend grew, with fans adding new sightings, origin stories, and alleged victims. The stories often read like urban legends, but to some young minds, they felt very, very real. Among those deeply drawn into the Slenderman mythos were two 12-year-old girls from Waukesha, Wisconsin, Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser. Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier were classmates and friends at Horning Middle School. By most accounts, Morgan was intelligent but struggled with social skills. Anissa, who had recently transferred to the school, found a kindred spirit in Morgan, and soon, the two bonded over fantasy, monsters, and particularly the chilling lore of Slenderman. They became obsessed, not in a typical fan way, but in a way that blurred imagination and reality. They read story after story on Creepypasta Wiki, talked about Slenderman constantly, and even believed he lived in a mansion in the Nicolet National Forest of Wisconsin. But it didn't stop at fascination. In the minds of Morgan and Anissa, Slenderman wasn't just real, he was watching them. And he had demands. They believed that to prove their loyalty and become his proxies, they had to do something unthinkable: kill someone. The chosen victim? Their friend, Peyton Bella Lutner. Bella had been Morgan's best friend since 4th grade. Sweet and trusting, she was invited to a sleepover on May 30th, 2014. The girls watched movies, played games, and celebrated Morgan's birthday. It was supposed to be innocent fun. But for Anissa and Morgan, it was the calm before the storm. The plan was set. They would kill Bella the next morning in the nearby woods. On May 31st, the girls lured Bella to a game of hide-and-seek in David's Park. Once there, Morgan handed Anissa the knife. But Anissa hesitated, saying Morgan knew where to stab. So Morgan took the knife and stabbed Bella 19 times. Bella begged them to stop. Bleeding and terrified, she was left alone in the woods. Morgan and Anissa fled, believing they would now be accepted into Slenderman's domain. But Bella didn't die. In an act of incredible courage, she crawled out of the woods and was found by a passing cyclist, who immediately called 911. She was rushed to the hospital and survived. Hours later, Morgan and Anissa were found walking down Interstate 94, headed toward the Nicolet Forest. They believed Slenderman was waiting for them. When questioned by police, their statements were chilling. Anissa calmly explained that they needed to kill Bella so Slenderman wouldn't harm their families. Morgan said she didn't feel remorse, only fear of what would happen if they failed. Authorities and the nation were stunned. How could two 12-year-old girls commit such a brutal act? The answer lay partly in the world they had retreated into, and partly in their mental states. Morgan Geyser was later diagnosed with early-onset schizophrenia, a rare condition in children. She claimed to see hallucinations, including Slenderman himself, and even believed she communicated with him. Her father had also been diagnosed with schizophrenia, which raised red flags about genetic risk factors. Anissa Weier was diagnosed with shared delusional disorder, a condition where one person adopts the delusions of another. In this case, she believed in Slenderman because Morgan did. Both girls were charged as adults with attempted first-degree intentional homicide, a controversial decision given their age. In 2017, Anissa pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 25 years in a mental health facility. Morgan accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to 40 years in a mental institution. In 2021, Anissa was released under strict supervision. Morgan remains committed. The Slenderman stabbing sent shockwaves through America. It raised urgent questions. Should children have unrestricted access to internet horror content? How do we protect young minds from dangerous delusions? And when a child commits a violent act, should we punish or treat? Creepypasta websites issued statements denouncing real-life violence. The creators insisted Slenderman was fiction, not a call to action. But the damage was done. This case marked one of the first times the line between online horror and real-world crime was so violently crossed. A fictional character inspired a real attempted murder, and forever altered the lives of 3 families. What happened in Waukesha wasn't just a crime. It was a tragedy born from obsession, mental illness, and the hidden power of online myth. Peyton Lutner survived. She endured immense physical and emotional pain, but today, she speaks out with courage, sharing her story and her recovery. The Slenderman case is a dark reminder. In a world where the internet blurs fact and fiction, young minds can get lost in the shadows. Thank you for watching True Crime Hub. If you found this story compelling, like, subscribe, and share. And remember, sometimes, the most terrifying monsters aren't lurking in the dark. They are hiding behind a screen.